This is the Fantasy Menace, your number one source for Dynasty news and analysis, with your hosts, Jake Sullivan, Brendan Albrizio, and Colin O'Brien. Friday, May 31st, 7:46 p.m. Eastern Time. And boys, full house today. We are back. Brendan Albrizio, Jake Sullivan, Colin O'Brien.
We're back.
We
happened.
Back.
Wish the full house theme was playing in the background because it's been a little bit, but we got the full crew today, boys. And this is going to be a big but very efficient show.
No promises on the efficient. We're going to try. Some of us a little more organized than the others. And
no
well,
prep.
I'm not. So, yeah, I'm going to do
Team
the best
no
I can.
prep on this end. Team no prep at all is my new name. But no,
But
I'm
we got
psyched. I'm psyched. I've been following along. Yeah, that's a lie. I've been doing a little prep. A little prep here, a little prep there. We're ready to ride.
It's the Gladiator League. How could you not?
Well, I'm with you, Colin, and I'm honestly surprised that Jake showed up today instead of Jake GPT, because everything we've been getting over the past 24 hours has been some AI robot creation, analysis, graph.
I've sent you 4 images. What are you talking about? And it's just one iteration of the other.
You
Come
are
on.
in love with ChatGPT, my man.
Turns out, Jake, I'm just
trying to master it before it tries to master me. Okay, you guys just sit back and it's gonna work for me. I'm not gonna work for it. Okay.
Yeah, Brett. So Brendan, one thing that's very important to call out is a couple of folks in one of the leagues we're in together, Spicy Boy League, started to get a little bit nervous that maybe Jake controlled half of the league based on the way that some of the trades started to go. People started to believe that maybe Jake owned 3 or 4 teams and he was only trading with those 3 or 4 teams, colluding
Which
with
league
himself.
Is it? Spicy Boy?
Spicy Boy, yeah. Adam.
My gargles, if you're in here, be quiet.
It came out at Tida's wedding, right? So I'm not saying it is true. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying he's also leaning heavy into AI at this point in time. And I have met other people in that league, so I am convinced that at least some people in that league are real. But now we got 36, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of due diligence here.
Let me tell you something. That's a compliment. Okay, if I am in people's heads like that, they think that I'm puppeteering other teams because I'm doing so well. I'm in everybody's head. That's fantastic.
No one said you're doing well. For the record, we're just
I
think the accusation was way, but you may be managing other teams, or you or your AI likeness
based on what?
Jake GPT.
Based on the good trades. I mean, come on, guys. It's one way or the other. You can't play both sides of the field here.
All right, but we have a big show. Let's get on topic, boys, because here's what we're here to talk about. The Gladiator League just had its startup draft. Now, for the audience out there, we are going to remind you what the Gladiator League is. And we just had the weekend draft, but there was one of the conferences that had a literal week draft that I was a part of. So this is quite a ride. But we've got the Gladiator League that just finished up its draft. It is a 36-person league. Jake, I'm going to let you talk about it in just a second. And we updated our TrueRank formula for 2024. We're going to talk about that because today's show is going to be focused on where the teams lie in TrueRank. We're going to go through quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and end with the overall. And while we were joking about it in the beginning, there's honestly a pretty good GPT graph that Jake has shared with us. We may talk about it. We'll see how we feel at the end if we've got some time. No promises. But it's been a massive week, and we want to share with you the TrueRank after the startup draft. And by the way, before any team changes have happened, all of the teams have drafted. No players have been added or removed. So this is about as pure as you can get post-startup draft.
Getting out in front of it, right? And I do think one thing to call, I don't know if we're going to get into kind of the bar charts, Brendan, right? From the ChatGPT, which apparently I've been inundating you with 4 images. Sorry for overwhelming you guys with that. But we'll probably dive into that in the subsequent episodes, right? We have we're kind of doing an overview episode today, and then the next three we're gonna dive into each individual conference of the Gladiator League in our next three episodes to really kind of get into more detail. So if your team's not really covered much at all, it's probably because you're middle of the pack. We're going to cover the top guys and the bottom guys in each section, and we'll dive a little bit into how we rank these teams. We have a pretty sophisticated system there, Brendan, Colin, right? We put a lot of work into that. But before we do that, I will just kind of remind people what the Gladiator League really is, really what the basic concept of it is, and it is three 12-team conferences that feed into one major 36-team league. And the original concept came from watching the college playoffs. I think it was actually the college selection process is what sparked my curiosity on, like, geez, I wonder if we could do something like that for fantasy football. Now, of course, we're not going to have a selection process, but the top 4 seeds from each conference goes into this massive playoff that we call the Coliseum, and ultimately crowning the victor. The Gladiator rule, the Emperor rule is one of the more unique pieces of this. So if you win your conference 3 years in a row, or if you win the Coliseum playoffs 2 years in a row, you get crowned Emperor, which means you win all of the money. Now, you want to talk about the Chat GPT? Okay, the league charter was somewhat generated by Chat GPT. It was a very
Oh,
sophisticated
come on.
it was a very sophisticated conversation between me and ChatGPT on really narrowing this thing down. Oh, like you two are probably the only two that actually read the fucking thing. Everybody else,
I
like,
did the required reading. You made us do the required reading.
We had a
yeah,
lawyer. I
well,
had a lawyer
thank
involved,
you
and he
two.
quit the league because of all the fake news that was flying around in that thing.
The obligations going on there. I'm looking right at the camera. So many of you sons of guns were asking me questions that were right in the charter. So don't even try me out next time. But
hold on. How many people that invest this much time? Right, we could all be investing in the stock market. We could be investing in gold, silver, whatever you want. Right, you could be investing in just your own lives. But we're investing in fantasy football. The most people that are investing in fantasy football, most of us can't read, Jake.
That's true. I think we might have just lost 6 of our listeners right there too, and they're going to pursue gold.
We do this
you
for
know what, Colin's
listeners.
right. Well, 6 is about a third of our
I'd be
audience
thrilled with 6 listeners on
of
this
the
episode.
Padawans on the Padawans.
The way it's going.
Anyways, payout structure is in the charter. There's many ways to get paid out, unless somebody is crowd emperor, in which case they collect everything, and you go into a full redraft the following season. So we just experienced, in Brendan's case, a week-long version of that, and Colin and mine, it was more like a 3 or 4 day draft. But it is certainly a big deal if it happens. So I bring that up because you can clearly see in some people's strategy in this draft, they're going straight for the Emperor rule. And I think we'll talk a little more about that later on. But that's the gist of the Gladiator League. Anything I'm missing, guys, on that?
Well, I think you just want to remind the audience it is Superflex Dynasty, full point PPR with FAAB. Those are the key big things. Again, 36 total teams. We have 3 leagues. Each league serves as a conference. So players are unique within a conference, but can be shared amongst conferences. It's Superflex. Jake, you've got us on 3 wide receiver, 2 running backs, 11 bench spots, which were 13. According to the charter, but recently cut.
We made an adjustment mid draft on that one.
It was getting thin. It was getting thin,
really deep. Yep.
And no kickers and no defense, no IDP. That's a little. I think that's
no
unique.
Cupcake nonsense.
So I think it makes the bench that much deeper in this league because we don't have to roster a kicker, and with D or IDP, you're going to have at least 2 bench spots for that. So.
That's where my lesson was learned on that one. That's why you saw the bench coming down. In all reality, what probably will happen. So I think if I had to guess, I'd say 30 to 40% of this league is not familiar with Dynasty, or at least certainly hasn't played it as much as a lot of us have. So I really wanted to kind of keep it simple with the roster construction and kind of take Brendan, Colin, you guys have heard me talk about this all the time and about our league of record, that I don't like team defenses in Dynasty. I don't think it has any role in Dynasty. However, I do like independent defensive players, IDPs. I'm not going to put that in this league right now, but as we go on, we may have a supplemental draft where we bring in IDPs a little bit down the road. But for now, let's keep it simple.
It's a huge league. It's experimental in the early years, I feel like. I don't know you can create this setup on some platforms, but I've never heard of a league this big and structured in this way. And I will also say, Jake, you are the only person I have ever known that watched the college football selection committee and thought, you know what, that's a great idea. That committee is
Dedicated.
doing a great job. I want to base my idea off what they are
That's not
doing.
what I said. That's not how I felt. It was the excitement over, "Oh, is my team gonna make it or not?" And I didn't even capture that in this. So there we go. Anyways, we got a lot to cover here.
Yeah, let's hit it.
We got a lot to cover. All right, let's jump into the true rank. Audience listeners might remember that the True Rank is the Fantasy Menace proprietary points-based ranking system, and this year it has received an update. This year, we're using 4 sources for inputs versus 5. Why are we doing that? Because the 5th source we felt was not being updated as frequently as we'd like. So this year, we're using Fantasy Pros, my rankings, Jake's rankings, and Colin's rankings as the inputs. We're going to take and rank the top 24 players at each of the core 4 positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Unfortunately, no kickers in defense. And we award points based on that player's position in their rank. So, for example, the number 1 quarterback gets 24 points, the number 2 gets 23. Being a points-based ranking system, you sum all the points up, and the maximum points a player can get within their position group is 96 points. So every player in the top 25, whether it be from Fantasy Pros, My Rankings, Jake's, or Collins, is going to receive points. We sum them all up, and then we order the player based on points. Now, what we're going to talk about today is the team true rank. The team true rank is simply the sum of all the true rank points amongst the team's players. So again, 96 is the maximum points that a player can have at their position group. But obviously, these rosters are relatively large. No one is going to have 1,000 points because of it's a 12-team dynasty draft. But the true rank system worked really well for us last year. It was surprising. And so we've made a decision this year to tweak it. We're simplifying it, and we're only going to rank the top 24 players, which is essentially your QB1 and 2 and RB1 and 2 and so on.
Yeah, just to kind of add to that last point there, we look at your top 2 quarterbacks, your top 4 running backs, your top 6 wide receivers, and your top 2 tight ends, and we're really trying to capture the strength of your starting lineup as well as the strength of your team to be able to handle the adversity, whether it's bye weeks or injuries or whatever it may be. So the flexibility of your team, we heavily measure that as well. So that's how we decided that. One thing to point out, it doesn't really matter right now because, as Brendan pointed out, this is as raw as it gets. There's been no trades or anything like that. But we do not evaluate your draft capital, your future draft stock. That's something that it's such an unknown that we're not going to put a value to it. So if you're one of those teams in the future, when you see our true ranks, if you have sold a lot of your veterans away for a bunch of rookie picks, your rank is going to be really low. We're not going to value your rookie picks. The only other thing I will say about how for those that are new to Dynasty, when you go and you see each of our individual ranks and Fantasy Pros as well, who, if you're not familiar with Fantasy Pros, they use a consensus ranking of I think 52 of the leading fantasy analysts out there on the web, on the World Wide Web. Uh, we really value. We tend to lean towards young ascending talent as opposed to proven veterans. So, for instance, I don't think I even have Alvin Kamara ranked in my top 24 running backs. Obviously, from a redraft standpoint, he could be extremely valuable this season. But from a dynasty standpoint, his value is extremely low to me because after this year, I don't know if he's going to start anywhere. So we keep that in mind when you're thinking about how we're ranking our players here.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Just the only thing I'd add too is I agree. I don't think actually I'm pretty positive I also did not rank Kamara as well as a lot of other aging veterans, but I'm very positive that based on the way that my draft went, and we'll get to all of this at some point, but I'm pretty positive there's a lot of teams that are far more likely to beat my team in the championship this year. I admit that. That's true. Some of those teams are going to be ranked fairly low in terms of the overall value of their team right now.
Right.
So that is something to really pay attention to, right? And consider what you have right now, consider what you want to do long term, but that's the whole point. And anyone that's new to Dynasty that's for the first time joining this, you should definitely pay attention to this episode, pay attention to other episodes we've done in the past, ask us. We'll share. We did a Dynasty 101 episode that I honestly think was one of the most valuable things we've ever done. But also look at other things. Right? Do a lot of research. Figure it out. Right? We're not here to tell you how to do it, how to beat us, because the three of us most definitely want to be Emperor year over year over year, right? And so we all have our own strategies. All three of us drafted a very different way, which is actually pretty awesome. But we'll see where it goes.
Wait, can you be Emperor each year,
You'd
or
have
is
to
that?
redraft.
You'd
You'd
have
have to
to would.
redraft.
Okay, okay.
You couldn't be back to back emperors. You'd have to.
Oh, you could.
At best case, it'd be
You would just
2
need.
years away.
You would just every 2 years I could do it. Is my plan.
Well, that would be interesting. Let's see how that goes.
All right, let's move into the teams and the position rankings.
Actually,
We're
hold
gonna
on, real quick. Hypothetically, just throw it out there. Okay, let's play wild card. I said I was going to be a wild card, right?
Good.
Wild card. We say I'm going to go hard in the paint out of the startup draft, and I'm going to win 2 straight years. It's actually not inconceivable that we could have back-to-backs emperors in 2 consecutive periods of time.
Well, keep in mind, everybody redrafts after somebody's crowned emperor.
The emperor is when you win 3 times in a row, right? That's when you become emperor.
So it's
if you win your conference 3 times in a row, or if you win the entire thing
2
years in a row.
2 years in a row. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, but so
it's
read
possible.
the charter, damn it.
It's not as impossible as we think it is. It is.
It is impossible for there to be an emperor crowned in back-to-back years. That's
correct.
impossible.
But it could happen twice in 4 years.
I do want to say this too, because you just called something out that I think I'm seeing a lot of the new dynasty players jumping in I've seen several people that are clearly going for, all right, I'm just going to draft like the proven guys right now and try to win the whole thing 2 years in a row. I would strongly advise against that mentality, because all it takes is one injury and you're going all in. You're going to have a lot of declining talent, and then also you're going to be stuck with nothing. And you're going to be in a really long rebuild where you're paying the league dues and you're in like a 3 to 5 year rebuild before you're even contending again. So just keep that in mind. I've never seen somebody three-peat in a 12-team league, and I have a very hard time believing somebody's going to win 2 years in a row in a 36 team league right off the bat. So
do you know
just
anyone that's
a word
playing,
to the wise.
Do you know anyone by chance that's playing for a three-peat right now?
Yes, I do, Colin. Let's see what it does. Let's see how it goes. Let's see.
Are we ready to get to the position groups?
Yeah,
I think so.
I was told in the prep call that
me.
we're going to keep it focused. We're going to go into the position groups. We're not going to go too deep. And I think we're probably 16 minutes into this recording, and we're pretty deep already, boys.
Now the audience knows who is the organized one that I was referring to earlier on. Brendan, thank you very much. Keep us going.
All right, we're
wild
moving
card,
we're moving into the Gladiator League TrueRank standings by position. So I'm wondering how to do this because some of the teams still don't have names. So I'm wondering, Jake, if we should
call them out. Call them out.
Right.
Shame them.
We're going to start with quarterbacks. The top 3 teams in quarterbacks. Number 1, Guard Uranus near Colin with 159 points. I can't believe this. This is live on the air.
Klein. That's Klein.
Number 2. Is this Klitz and okay. Klitz
yes,
and
we have a couple back-to-back whoppers right
All
there.
right. Number 3, Nero Complex. Those are your top 3 TrueRank teams by quarterback. And Nero Complex is your very own Jake Sullivan.
Thank you very much. And also Ben Klein's number 1, and then we have a co-owned team in JoJo and Charlie for the number 2 Klitz and Katanas, I believe. So congratulations, Ben Klein. If you dig into what's going on with his team, if I recall correctly, he had one hell of a turn where he got, who's the second quarterback that he grabbed? Hold on, we're going right now. It was Joe Burrow and then Anthony Richardson, which, as you guys know, I love Anthony Richardson. I think we all have him ranked higher than the consensus in Fantasy Pros. So that's really helping his team quite a bit. But that duo is a deadly one. In my duo, I have Anthony Richardson and Justin Herbert, and that's coming in at 3rd. So a similar structure, but I think I'd rather have Burrow than Herbert.
Yeah. Well, let's just see if Burrow's hand is back to what it was pre-injury, or is it still going to be his strong hand?
Go get it, Higgins.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I have a
But
question.
I
He
think
got Joe Burrow. I just want to hear that again. Then call. Sorry, cut you off. But he got Joe Burrow and Anthony Richardson. Jake.
He did.
he
He
sure
did.
did.
He got. I think he was he the 10th, the 12th pick, Colin? He's in your conference, right?
Yeah, he was 10th. I think he was 10th or 11th for sure. He was
Yeah.
definitely back
So
end.
so he didn't quite have the bend, but Richardson came back around to him. So Burrow
Yeah.
fell, and then Richardson came back around to
There
him.
was some very interesting picks in the first round. Not to call anyone out named Dada specifically, but we had a Bijan Robinson pick at
The fourth pick.
104 that I think most people were absolutely shocked by. There's a number of running backs that went before Justin Jefferson or any other receiver. Our conference, and we'll dig deeper into this all, of course, but initially it started out wild. I think it was people did not anticipate the way it went, and I honestly think that Klein absolutely cleaned up initially in the beginning of the draft as a result of it, and I'm psyched for him. I was pissed for myself because the way that things fell to me, and I felt like I was backpedaling for a while, and eventually I
Yep.
think I figured it out a little bit, and we'll get to it. But yeah, I couldn't anticipate the way that my conference went in terms of the early
Now,
picks.
now, with no coincidence, Brendan, do you want to read off the bottom three quarterback teams?
I do, and I'm wondering. I think I'm going to need to read 4 teams because 2 teams are technically tied in rank points for the bottom 3. So I'm
This
going
is
to read
true.
them all. All right, so I've got no team name. Win no matter what. I believe this is Rashawn Howard, 39 rank points. The Brunswick Bears tied at third worst with 39 rank points. And then second worst is Adam Rubin, no team name, 21 rank points.
Boo.
And the
No
worst
team name. Boo.
is a team. That's
The
clever.
aforementioned Dada.
There we go.
Yes.
A team has no name. Josh Tierney
Yep.
with 20 points. Okay, so the best. Oh, this kind of makes sense. The number one team, Ground Uranus near column, has the top with 159 rank points, and in the same conference as the worst team. I guess that makes sense because he picked it up on the turn, and I'm guessing Mr. Tierney had waited for a quarterback.
He's the one that grabbed Bijan with the 4th pick.
Yeah. He also huge Broncos fan. I'm always guilty of wanting a Packer. I'm well documented on this podcast and in every league I've ever been in. It's okay. And Josh, every league I've ever been in with him, he always tries to find a Bronco, and I appreciate that. But I think he had started the draft with the plan of I'm going to reach on Bo Nix, and I really hope for him that it works out. But the reason he's sitting in last place is he went, I'm going to figure out my top tier talent first, and then I will figure out my quarterbacks. And you never know. The point is of fantasy football is if Bo Nix hits, he's going to be a top team for sure because he's got a lot of talent. But
Reports are coming out of camp already that he is further ahead than we believe. I believe
right,
I've seen multiple reports of that and multiple different moments where that's been brought up. I believe all of them have been by Sean Payton, who drafted him.
right,
So is it biased? Could be. We'll see.
Bo Nix
yeah,
better be ahead of schedule. I'm 37 years old. I'm pretty sure Bo Nix is about 6 months younger than I am. So if he's not ahead of these 19-year-old kids, then oh boy. Oh
Yep.
boy. So I think if
Yep.
you're at the top of the quarterback scenario here, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like the Josh Tierney, who's at the bottom, he's got very strong running back. So I think that for super flex, I feel like a lot of people have a tendency to take quarterbacks very high. And if you're not in the top, I guess in this startup draft, I'm not sure how it ended up in yours, but I feel like if you weren't in the top 6 or 7 picks, then you kind of had to make a call right then and there that you were either going to wait and hope and pray, or you were going to have to stretch for a quarterback. And I'm just outside that bottom 3. I'm 10 points above the bottom 3 teams. And I got screwed at being at the end of my draft. I had to wait for a quarterback.
Well, you say that, but here I am sitting at number 3. I was the 10th pick, and I got Anthony Richardson and Justin Herbert. So sometimes you just gotta Jedi mind trick everybody else around you, make sure the guys you want fall to you.
You had an interesting draft. You had
Thank
an
you.
interesting draft. All right, so the quarterbacks, boys. Any other observations on looking at the true ranks of the teams for quarterback? Man,
No,
what a
I
spread.
I think we'll certainly dive into. So again, if you don't hear your team really talked about in this episode directly, we're going to dive way more into each conference. The only thing I'll call out, Brendan, is it is important to remind everybody quarterback is probably the most valuable position in a superflex draft. So this you want to be ranked pretty high in this. You don't have to have a really strong quarterback core in order to win in a superflex league, but it certainly helps. It's definitely an advantage in most cases.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. The
Ju-
floor is just so high.
One thing just to call out, because I do actually think it's really interesting, is I am what one, two, three, four, five. I'm at number 6 in quarterback.
There's numbers to the left column.
What? Oh,
If you just
uh,
if you just
you know
scroll your
what?
eyes over the left.
All right, just because you're half AI now doesn't mean that you can really mess with me. All right, okay. But here's the thing: I'm at 6 in quarterbacks, but it's only because I have Josh Allen, and I actually feel incredibly weak at quarterback overall. I have Josh Allen, Drake May, and if Drake May doesn't hit, I'm actually in a lot of trouble. So like these ranks are interesting, very interesting, but the fact that I have Josh Allen the number 1 or number 2 quarterback overall is wildly inflating my ranking here at quarterback. So again, don't absolutely panic if you're ranked in a position where you're not super excited about. There's one, Josh Allen. I could always trade Josh Allen and pick up hypothetically 2 quarterbacks that would put me in a similar position, but maybe improve my standing overall. If Drake May does hit, and I know all you Patriots fans are really hoping for that, if he hits, I'm going to be a stud in this league.
I thought that might have been. I thought you might have ended that with stroke with how long that took. The one other
Stroke
thing,
of
I guess
genius.
the future episodes too, we are going to kind of dig into reasons why you should be excited or reasons for optimism and also reasons for concern. And Drake May is a really good example of if he hits, like right now he's not ranked very high, but as soon as he demonstrates that he can really make it in the NFL, that value is going to really skyrocket. And all of a sudden, you're right, Colin, your quarterback ranking will really climb too. So that's a good point. Brendan, move us on.
We're moving on to running backs. Running backs, I think, were the most interesting the way the ranking worked out here. So your top 3. Number 1. She doesn't have a team name yet? I thought she had a team name.
Three no team names for the top 3.
None of these people have team names?
I'm gonna start docking picks here.
All right.
We'll
Number 1, and actually this is the largest spread between the number 1 at the position and number 2. The spread is 28 points. Elizabeth Fries with 224 points. No team name. Elizabeth, we got to get you that team name. Number 2, yet again, no team name. Win no matter what. Rashawn Howard, 196 points. I will remind you that Mr. Howard is at the bottom of quarterbacks, but at number 2, running backs, although trailing the number 1 team, Elizabeth Fries by some degree. And number 3, I was surprised to see this. Mr. Matt McHugh, no team name. I was surprised by 2 things. 1, I thought McHugh had a team name. And 2, is McHugh really a running back guy? I never got that feeling from him.
yeah. He always hits on running backs too. McHugh's normally really good at finding kind of that hidden talent, but in this case, he had the number 1 overall pick. He went CJ Stroud, and then the next 2 picks, I believe he went Brees Hall and Jameer Gibbs. And that right there is what's going to jump you up. 2 of the really top talents in the league and still very young. So we all, I think Brees Hall is my RB1. I think consensus is he's either RB2 or RB3. And Jameer Gibbs is a top 4 guy as well. So that's fantastic. I do want to go back to Elizabeth because she really nailed the running back group. She has Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne, and Kenneth Walker. That's a really nice trio to have. So she's up there and she has the biggest delta between the next position out of anybody in the 36 teams in this running back rank. So that having that third stud is really what brought her up so high in the rankings there. She's got depth. She can, as we know, running backs, I think, typically get injured the most. So she has the ability to really roll with the punches at that position for sure.
She's got 3 top 7 running backs in TrueRank. Jonathan Taylor, number 4, Kenny Walker, number 6, and Travis Etienne Jr. number 7. She really went all in, and honestly, she gets some health there. We know that these guys are probably going to miss 1 or 2 games. She gets a little health though, a little lucky. That is a mean running back room.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to top that team if it's going at full strength.
The
Bottom 3, let's do it.
bottom 3. My God, I can't.
Another no-name team.
Another no-name team. Arian Ismaili. Did I do that? I don't know if I butchered that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. 42 points.
Ari, you can call him Ari.
Ari, 42 points. Cue the duck boats. Josh Big Buck.
Cue the buck boats.
The buck boats. Oh, come on. Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, I love it.
That's clever, Big
okay.
Buck.
Makes
16
sense.
points, though. Yikes.
Yeah.
And the bottom team, I was a little surprised it was so low. This is no, I'm sorry. Somebody has 0 I don't know if that's right, but this is the second lowest of the TrueRank points in any position. Mikey Padley, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Tiger with 5 points.
Did you just call him Mickey?
Mikey. Did I say Mickey?
Padley. Yeah, I think you
sorry
did.
about that, Mikey.
I mean,
Anyway,
I know Mickey. His ears aren't that big.
5 points. What you got to say for yourself, brother?
He's got 1 running back that is ranked.
Wow.
And it's Kendre Miller, 21-year-old Kendre Miller, coming in with 5 points. He is the Fantasy Minutes TrueRank running back number 26. And just so everyone's aware, in the offseason, the rankings can get a little crazy. I told you we ranked the top 24. So far, though, we have 32 running backs that are ranked. So not the worst. And so everyone has a frame of reference for Mr. Kendre Miller. Joe Mixon is tied with him at running back 26 in the Fantasy Menace True Rankings.
Yeah. Again, obviously, Joe Mixon is most likely going to outperform Kendre Miller this year. Joe Mixon also could fall off that cliff any second now. So Kendre Miller, I actually really like Kendre Miller. I might be the one that has him ranked. I'm not sure if I do, but he, this is essentially his rookie season this year. I drafted him myself in our league. I'm shocked I'm not in the bottom 3 because I have a feeling these 3 we just listed had the exact same strategy as me, which is I'll deal with running back later. I want to build the rest of my roster first. I really like that strategy with Dynasty. You don't have to do that either. But typically, when you're really pursuing that championship, that's when you go and you try to trade for maybe a running back to just help complete that push for the title. But I like Kendre Miller. I think Alvin Kamara certainly did not perform well at all last year. Kendre Miller dealt with injury all through last season. He was 20 years old when he came in the NFL last year. So he's 21 this year. He's going to turn 22, I think, in November of this year. And essentially it's his rookie season. So there is a pathway to him becoming the guy there. I liked his talent coming in. So kind of a sleeper player there that could really break out either this year or maybe at the end of the season. And all of a sudden you could see his value go up. So if you're at the bottom of this list, honestly, to be at the bottom of any of these lists, this is the one I'd rather be at the bottom of personally. So don't get down on yourself if you're at the bottom of this list.
Totally agree.
Felt like you were beating your chest a little bit, Jake, for not being in the bottom 3. I will just note to the audience that Mr. Jake Sullivan Nero Complex is the 5th worst in running back.
Yeah.
Not bottom 3 though.
His toes are in the toilet, but his whole leg isn't in there like the rest of you guys. But he's right. He's still smelling like stink when he walks out of that bathroom.
I can confirm the toilet water is cold.
We're going to wide receivers. Excuse me. We're done with running backs. Okay, boys, wide receivers. There was a pretty tight cluster. Now, there's one team here that is separating themselves from the pack a little bit, and that's our number 1 in TrueRank for wide receivers, Pat Cahill, no-name team. 220 rank points.
Pat, come on.
That's the second highest, but also just remember that Jake loves wide receivers, and we rank about 1,000 of them, so unclear how good his room is or if he just has a lot of them that are ranked. No, I'm kidding. His room is scary good. Mr. Cahill's room, 220 points.
Tons of upside with this team. Not a lot. So Justin Jefferson, the 101, right? The number 1 wide receiver, no doubt about it. But then Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. So they're ranked really high right now, but they are certainly unproven talent. So while we all believe that they're going to succeed in the NFL, this could turn. I don't think it's going to grow massively as far as all of a sudden his value is going to increase in this position. It could go down, but I don't think it's going to. I think this wide receiver core is going to be a deadly one for a long time for for Team No Name, Pat. Come on. Brendan, let's get to number 2 in
Number
quick.
2, yours truly, Danger Zone. Not me.
Ooh.
201 points.
So out of the ordinary for you, Brendan.
Shocker. I know.
Wow.
You know how I feel about the air raid. I don't care about the ground game, although I have an okay team on the ground, I think. But I very much prioritize the wide receiver position. But right behind me, same division. Ooh, no team name. Coconut Pete. Ryan Newton, 197 points. And I'm just going to say it right now. His wide receiver room, I wouldn't, if we had to switch wide receiver rooms, I wouldn't be especially sad because I feel like Ryan had a very strong startup draft and he's got Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, Zay Flowers as his 3 ranked wide receivers. And I've got Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins, and JSN. I mean, JSN, I like. Obviously,
Look, if he breaks out this year like I believe he's going to, then I think you become the number one. I think you could take that number one spot. I think Ryan getting Zay Flowers where he got him was really good for him. That was a great situation for Ryan. That really solidified him as a really good strength on this team.
it was a huge grab. And we all love, I feel like the 3 of us had talked about Zay Flowers before. Massive skill, rookie year, still putting up decent numbers. AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson. I mean, yeah, and we don't even, none of us really have ranked Deebo Samuel. Calvin Ridley could have a bounce back year. So just, I feel like a lot of upside there.
Yep. I'm looking at number 6, just so you know. You guys called me out being bottom 5 last time. I'm top 6 this time. You want to call that out or no? We're just going to.
You said in the intro to
Yeah,
this
we're
that
good.
we're not going to talk about all the teams. And if we don't talk about it, it's because you're in the middle.
What about me?
You're in the middle. So we're not
Yeah,
talking.
but it's me.
All right. We're
Yeah.
moving on to the bottom 3. This one, I think we may have to recheck the rankings, boys, because bottom 3 looks especially low here. This is going to be we're going to talk about this team who, for whatever reason, has 0 points. But number 3 from the bottom, Etruscan Executioners with 24 points. Mike Knowles. Number 2 from the bottom, no team name Elizabeth Freeze with 19 points, and the bottom team for wide receiver TrueRank is Colin and Robbie, no team name with 0 points. Is that right? Are we sure
It
that
is. It
that's not a
is. It is.
bug?
So this is a really good example of how much we value and undervalue the young talent, ascending talent that has longevity versus the old vets that don't have much left in the tank. So who Colin has is Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, and Calvin Ridley. So he has these 3 stars. This is one of the teams that I was talking about earlier that's clearly going for the Emperor title as fast as he can. And it's one of the ones that I'm nervous that if he has one injury, which Mike Evans and his little ramen noodle hamstrings don't last very long these days, then all of a sudden he misses. If he doesn't win the championship this year, he's in big trouble, right? So uh, it's not fair. I'm sure Colin's kind of looking at this saying, "What the hell are you idiots talking about?" And I get it. He's probably going to smoke most of the people he faces this year. But let's talk next year and see how he is. And that's really where we're looking at these rankings. I wouldn't trade Jackson Smith and Jigba for any one of those guys, and he's my wide receiver 4 when we're talking about a dynasty situation here. So that's kind of where my head's at with that ranking.
Now, Colin and Robbie, are they? They're co-owners in. Is this your league, Jake? The Legion of Mar. This is the one that you're in.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're secret lovers, I believe. Colin and Elizabeth are so the number 1 worst and number 2 worst are together, and then I believe Colin is probably having some sort of tryst with Robbie. I'm not sure if that's true or not. The rumors, sources are saying so.
Allegedly.
I'm not sure, but perhaps this is a household decision that hey, we're gonna let's lock up the bottom of the wide receiver core here and really kind of catch everybody off guard. What do you say? Keep in mind, Elizabeth is the one that had the astounding running back core. So we know where her strength is.
And this is a great this team right here, no team name, Colin and Robbie, is a great example of true rank being different from single season rank or redraft rank.
By the way,
Where
Colin is a writer. By the way, Colin, I've seen the movies that he writes. He can't come up with a team name. Come on, Colin, let's go.
are we? Is this a pod on?
Colin Colin wrote a movie about Roman zombies, ancient Roman zombies, like a horror movie about ancient Roman zombies. I actually was an extra in it. It's probably on IMDb if you're looking. But come on, this is like
All
right up his alley. Colin,
self-serving.
come on, let's do it.
Self-serving. We get
Yep,
it. Yep. Shameless
yep.
plug. You were in a movie.
Yeah, I was.
Come on.
Some say I stole the show. I
Yeah.
think I just was standing there with a thing, a
Some
stick
say you're
for
still
like
in the show right now, sir.
Here's what I'm learning from this episode.
Thank you.
Colin, you and I obviously have to get back to the conferences and tell them that if they don't put team names on here, the next 3 episodes are going to be 20 minutes of
Thank you.
shaming on the no team names.
You're
So
right.
It's about time.
we have got to get on our horse here. But again,
got
great example here of the difference between TrueRank and redraft rank. TrueRank, we're looking at dynasty assets, so it's more than just this year; it's multiple years. And Jake, you called out Colin and Robbie's wide receiver room. In redraft, this is a dynamite room, and even their running backs: Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, Isaiah Pacheco is their only one that's 25 or younger. This is an old team. I think we're gonna get to their age because this is a very high age. This is I'll just say it since we're looking at it right now, but the average age of Colin and Robbie's team is 27 and a half years old. That's approximately 8.5 years too old for Jake's team. I mean, that is
That's
crazy.
with that's with 3 rookies on the roster too. I'm looking at Malachi. No, sorry, not 3 rookies. Malachi Corley, Romeo Dobbs, who is young, and then Jaden Daniels. So you have those guys bringing the number down a little bit too. It just from I went and entered. I had to manually put in all of the draft picks in the first 10 rounds for each conference today. This team to me is the favorite to win this season, I would say. So while we're over here poo-pooing him and giving them a 0 for the wide receiver core, they are the most likely one to win the entire Gladiator, the Coliseum tournament if everybody can stay healthy.
Last in TrueRank wide receiver, but first in our hearts for this year. Okay, let's go to.
I can't wait for them to come after me for the Trist rumors. That's
Yeah.
just unfounded.
Just spreading rumors.
I was just a little hurt. They wanted to co-manage as opposed to having their own teams.
Oh, there's a lot of co-managers in your conference, Colin. I don't think you or I have many in ours, but
very few.
Not sure what to make of that, Jake. Okay, tight ends.
Leagues of men and women, and Jake's a league of many men and women.
Definitely more than 12 owners.
Definitely more than 12. I would like to say we have 36 people in this league, but the rest are all in Jake's.
Yeah. All right, tight ends. Number 1 coming in. And tight end is like quarterback in that we're only ranking 2 of them. And this is tight ends. I feel like it's easier for tight ends for you to get good tight ends because for whatever reason, when I looked briefly across all 3 drafts, I really felt like no one was picking up tight ends, especially early. I think it was like, especially in our draft, the tight ends really fell beyond. I think Brock Bowers might have been the only one that went in the top 4 rounds or something. I mean, it was crazy. But the number 1 is Victor Courtemanche. Am I pronouncing that right? I know it's the French.
Courtemanche.
Yes. Vinland with 183 points. Now we're ranking 2 of them. That is a huge rank because love the audience to remember that the maximum points you can receive per player is 96. So Vinland or Vic has 183 points that he really prioritized that tight end. Number 2 in the same conference.
I will say just before you move on, Vinland. I've been reaching out to individuals with the no team names and saying, hey, come on, what are you doing? And he said he's been looking up Canadian warriors, like famous Canadian warriors. So I'm wondering if Vinland is that. I wasn't aware there were any famous Canadian warriors. However, that's where I'm guessing Vinland has come from.
Oh, okay. Vic, we love the research. Number 2, tight ends. Same conference. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Tiger, Mikey. Patch like 170 points. Holy cow. Wow. And again, that just goes to show you that there's tremendous value to be had by tight end if you just waited a little bit. Number 3.
Go ahead. Read this one, Brendan.
Read it. Yeah, spare me.
Okay,
ahead,
hold
Brendan.
on. I got to zoom in, even though I got the glasses on here. Jizzicus, creator of Spawn, Chance Malcasian, 158 points. Is that pronounced that right? Is the full pronunciation?
I think so.
Okay.
Jizzica. Yes, very
Jizzicus,
nice.
creator of Spawn. Okay.
You can visibly see Brendan's skin crawling.
I mean, I gotta be the one to read all these. You know, I am reading from actual team names, so I apologize to those of you out there who may be listening to this in the car with children. Although I do mark this explicit for this very reason. Bottom 3 teams, and then we're gonna talk. Let's do some takeaways here. Third from the bottom, guard Uranus near Colin, Ben Klein, 44 points. Second from bottom, no team name, Matt McHugh, 31 points. In the bottom, no team name, Pat Cahill. Okay. Where do we want to start here, boys?
Not my anus, I don't think, but
I do want to jump back up to Vinland, who is number 1. He's got Sam Laporta and Dalton Kincaid. That's an unbelievable stack. That's an exciting one to have. And in our league of record, we saw somebody that had that who actually just traded away Dalton Kincaid. By the way, this might need to become the league of record from now on. Gladiator League. We're shifting league of record.
I think. Well, it's 3 leagues in one. It's got to be
exactly.
It's like the. It's bigger than a league, right? It's got to be. It's almost bigger than 2 leagues. I'm might even crazy enough to say it might be bigger than 2.5.
Almost
leagues.
exactly.
Yeah,
almost exactly.
But not as big as 4 leagues, right? But not as big as 4 leagues. But definitely bigger than 2.5 for sure.
Somewhere between 2.5 and 3.1.
But if you look at, so I think the tight end thing is kind of interesting. So like some of the teams at the top of this group, they're almost definitely not going to be starting 2 top tight ends, right? Like Ben Klein is guard Uranus near Colin, and he has known me since very long time. So
which is why he's warning everybody to guard their
anus. He's a wise man, and he says apparently that he doesn't really care enough to have a tight end because he's spent a lot of time guarding it. Yes, he has the 3rd worst tight end. But
I'm wondering how deep down this tight end
apparently didn't. No, but like if you actually look at his team, I'm not. If I'm him, I'm not concerned about it. He had a very interesting approach. He started with Luke Musgrave, possible upside Green Bay guy. Yes, I'm biased. And then he followed it up with Tucker Kraft.
He was like the Packers. He was like the real life Packers in the draft.
Green Bay. He lives in Green Bay. He essentially Green Bay. He's just outside. He's not a Packers fan. He's a Patriots fan. But I actually love the idea. Like let's get the tight end room and figure it out in Green Bay if Jordan Love plays out the way that we think he's going to play out. I don't hate the approach. He threw essentially one giant magnet at the wall, and hopefully that magnet yields at least one player. But I think Klein had one of the best drafts of anybody in this entire 36 team, 38 people. Thanks, Jake. Group. Very interesting team, and I actually like the idea that he had a tight end.
I might be mistaken here. I think there's actually 2 teams in this league that drafted both Kraft and Musgrave. I'll have to look into that.
I certainly planned on it, and
I think there were 2 teams that grabbed both of them. So I understand, because we don't know who's going to end up being the guy, right? Luke Musgrave played really well at the beginning of last year. He got hurt. Then Tucker Kraft really stepped up. And great at the end of the season. Now he's hurt, right?
Yeah, essentially. So I saw some stats today. Essentially, not to get on a whole. No, you did it.
I did it.
You did it. But not to get on a whole Green Bay tangent. But essentially, there was no difference between the 2 players. I think Musgrave was drafted maybe in the 2nd, and Kraft was drafted in like the 3rd or 4th. They essentially Musgrave got hurt, and then Kraft stepped up, and then he had about the exact same production. But if you compare the 2 guys together, if they're one person on the field and they're healthy, he would have been like certainly a top 12 tight end. So if that does continue to play out, Klein's got a team that's like super, super interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I remember watching him drafting here and there and saying, "Oh shit, that team looks pretty darn good. I
Yeah.
don't like this." Checking in on another no name team, bottom of the TE, Pat Cahill. Again, Pat Cahill. I know you're creative. Get a team name in there. You're funny. Chigoziem Okonkwo and Greg Dulcich at your tight ends.
Well, Greg, you feel bad for Greg because he's got great receiving skills, and then he got hurt. He came back, he got hurt again, and Sean Payton doesn't like him, so that's not great. But the talent's there. And then Chig, I think we had him ranked, I feel like pretty high last year in our true rank before the season, and we're obviously massively let down. So maybe a bounce back year for the two of them.
Yeah, but not only that, there's so many weapons there right now with Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, the corpse of Traylon Burks.
Tyler
That's
Boyd.
Yeah,
Tyler
yeah,
Boyd
there's
got
a lot.
snatched.
Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard. There's a lot of players on the team, so Chig is going to be really tough to trust.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so that's it for the position groups. Now we get to the age. It's not really a true rank. It's just something we look at, I guess.
It's just average. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
it's
average.
just
But
the average age.
it is interesting, right? It's good to know kind of it helps understand how set are you for the long term versus how quickly are some of these teams going to be digging into a rebuild fast.
Or are they just rolling?
Want to just say that well, let's just say the youngest and the oldest.
All
I don't
right,
think
the
we need to dig into
youngest,
that.
Josh, a team has no name. Josh Tierney, 22.9 years old, average age. And the oldest, are you not entertained? Shane Snyder, 27.7. Wow, I got to check that team out. Average age of the roster that is being ranked.
I would like to
Both in
say
the both in the same conference.
I would like to say, yeah, I would like to say we got to look at this because I don't know if it maybe it's true. I don't know, but
Hmm.
I'm not positive. I feel
Okay.
like
What are you not positive of?
I don't know. I feel like Tierney's team might be a little bit older than that, so we need to look at these numbers. But
I'm looking right now. Well, Shane Snyder's Are You Not Entertained? Definitely the oldest. He's got Aaron Rodgers
certainly the
and
oldest.
Travis.
We had multiple conversations, and he said, "You pay no attention to the man behind the curtain."
Well, here's
Is he another one of the ones chasing the emperor?
Well,
That
yeah,
could find
he
himself
said
in trouble.
he said I'm living for today, my friend. You pay no attention.
Oh boy.
Tierney's team possibly could be that young, but I mean, he's got a 31-year-old. He's got a 28 year
Tierney
old,
looks like he's got
24
6
year
or
old,
7 rookies on
and
his
then you look at
true rank
I
roster
don't know,
here.
maybe I'm crazy.
Is that
Just
true?
I think all we do is we port in the age and we average it. So I think it's pretty.
I guess I buy it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I was pretty certain I was going to be younger than him. Maybe Josh Allen.
Call Brandon and I will keep maintaining the rankings for you. Okay. You just show up. All right. That's what we'll do. All right. How's that sound?
Yeah, you pay no attention to the math. Math isn't real.
Or the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Brandon, let's get to the overall rankings. The big finale.
The
Here.
overall true rank. So that was the individualized positional rankings and age. We're going to go top 3. I'm going to read top 3 and then we're going to talk about them. Then I'll read bottom 3 and we'll talk about those. Top 3. Jizicus, creator of Spawn, Chance Malcasian. 489 ranked
by
points.
quite a margin.
489
yeah.
is 16 points higher than number 2. Nero Complex, Jake Sullivan, and 473 points. And number 3, Danger Zone, me, with 472 points. I won't say that we were tied until somebody adjusted their rankings.
Not me.
But we were tied. And then somebody did adjust their rankings. There's no fingers being pointed. I just
You were actually
report in
ahead
the
of
news.
Just
And
you were
you know
ahead
what?
of me.
I actually adjusted the rankings and I didn't realize what it was doing. So I shouldn't have done
Yeah.
that, but I did it.
Yep.
So that is
You brought in the new fan. You brought in the fantasy. You updated the fantasy pros rankings.
I did that
right?
as well. So it could have been that. But this is a Chance has 16 points on you, Jake, and then you and I are clustered very close together. And then the next one is 14 points down to Truscan Executioners at number 4.
Now hold on a second. So there's 3 of us here. We all have a dynasty show, but I only see 2 of us in the top 3. What is going on with that?
Well, that's a very interesting thing that you would bring up, Jake. One, let us sketchy things going on. Right? Okay. One, you claim to be a commissioner of 3 separate leagues, of which nobody has met
Conferences.
each other. No, 3 separate. Okay, one league,
Oh,
3
do you want to help
conferences.
me pay for the guys from LA to fly out here? There's like 8 of them
Yeah,
for
I'm not
LA.
convinced. One, I'm not convinced they exist. Two, yes, I had a plan. I am still top 10, and I'm not that far behind you.
Okay. All right. I
Uh,
just, you know,
if you're gonna if you're trying to poke the bear, so to speak. But I will also say of the top 10, I do have, I believe, the most competitive league
oh, okay.
in terms of the core rankings, right? In the top 10, top 12,
You're the most
most
balanced, I think.
most
Like,
balanced league.
yeah.
I think we had the best draft.
Why do I why do I feel like Colin was saying it to the mirror multiple times over the last few days since the draft ended? You know,
Yeah, I
you
was. And
You have a great team.
you are going to be competitive. You are more competitive than the other two, especially.
Dr. Lipschitz, I need another meeting. No, no, no. I think ultimately, honestly, in being fully transparent, shout out to my conference. Honestly, I think there were some wild picks that I did not anticipate, but overall, I think my group did a really good job. And there's a reason that I think a lot of us are we're not discussed as much. There's a couple people that were definitely discussed, but a lot of us are like right in the middle. And I do think overall it's going to be a super competitive. And this is not just my conference. This is the whole thing. I think this is going to be highly competitive. There's like very small margins between a lot of teams in terms of the top 5, the top 10, the top half, right? And even the top half, a lot of those teams are crazy young, like my team, where like it's not necessarily guaranteed to compete right off the bat. But I think I have a very, very strong young core. And that was my plan off the bat, right? And so when you think about building a dynasty, I want to build a dynasty on a very young, strong core, as opposed to some of the other teams that are going after it right off the start, which I totally appreciate. And good for you for doing that. But my encouragement to all of you is have a plan when that's over. Don't just go all in and then have it be over, because we are going to be looking at you building for 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years of a buy-in. So make sure you win or make sure you have a plan. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and the top teams are pretty clustered, and I feel like it's hard to say that anyone didn't have an especially good team. Even I'm gonna read the bottom 3 teams, and I was actually surprised by this because I thought that this team right
Before
here at the
before you do that, can we just dig into Chance's team real quick, the number one overall team, because
Sure.
it's an impressively balanced team, and
Yeah,
I think
he crushed it.
it demonstrates how we rank, but also why I like the ranking so much. His quarterbacks need to hit. He has 2 rookie quarterbacks. He has Caleb Williams, and JJ McCarthy. I don't think any of us are very high on JJ McCarthy, but we really like the situation that he's in. The ceiling for Caleb Williams is very obvious. I don't like Caleb Williams that much. Um, certainly not as much as everybody else seems to, but you cannot deny the weapons that he has around him, and obviously how much they have invested in him. The running backs, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, Zach Charbonnet. Even Zach Charbonnet, I like him a lot. I think we all liked him coming in out of college. Shitty situation being stuck behind Kenneth Walker, but Walker's already dealt with some injuries, and I can see them starting to give more volume to Zach Charbonnet to kind of balance that out a little bit. And then the wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle. That's unbelievable. That duo is extremely strong, backed up by Keenan Allen, Christian Watson, and then the 2 tight ends in Kyle Pitts and TJ Hawkinson. He's got a lot of pieces that if he finds himself in trouble for whatever reason, he has he can make some trades, right? He can kind of very easily continue to build with his team. So nice work, Chance. It's a well-deserved first
by
place.
week 4 he could have it, depending on how things shake out in Seattle. Charbonnet could find his way into the true ranks. Brian Robinson Jr. could find his way ranked. Keenan, if he has a hot start to the year, like he had an amazing season last year, he could be. He's not currently ranked right now, but he could be in there. Marvin Mims, we'll see. but he's got
A
got
lot coming
potential.
out about him having a bigger role this year,
But
but
yeah, he's gonna
with
have to, right?
he's not ranked. Yeah,
But
yep.
he could have an even put even more daylight between him and the number 2 team.
Yeah, the big pieces that put him on top was obviously Jamar Chase with 90 points alone. Kyle Pitts and TJ Hawkinson both carrying 76 and 82 points between those two. So he has some really heavy hitters that brings him up to the top. But just thought it was worth pointing out. Okay, now get to what everybody's waiting for, the
The bottom
bottom three.
3, okay, and again, I was surprised by this, but this just goes to show you the true rank is it's a tough one, and also it's an off-season rank. Number 3 from the bottom, number 34 out of 36 is no team name, AJ Muffet with 339 points. Number 35, second from the bottom, Shane, Are You Not Entertained? Shane Snyder with 326 points, and at the bottom, Muff Sickles, Ham Brower with 294 points. The only team with a 2 in front. Okay, let's start with AJ because I actually think that
I'm shocked by that.
I'm
Yeah,
shocked too
looking
because
at his roster, all of it, knowing how great AJ is a dynasty, that this one, not Collins rankings, don't make me want to second guess anything. But AJ's here certainly does.
well, again, it's an off-season true rank, so none of these guys have hit the field yet, and I think that there's 3 players that are currently unranked in our true rank that could very easily find their way in there. So Chris Godwin is a great wide receiver. He's like a so solid wide receiver too. Brian Thomas Jr. could really make some waves out there, and Jameson Williams or Jahan Dotson. I feel like it's likely one of the 2 of those guys are going to show up for AJ this year. So I think he's got 3 guys that are currently unranked, given it's the off season and we're coming off of a season looking at Jameson Williams, thinking, okay, is it going to happen to sit? No, Jahan
Yeah.
turned it on at the end of the year. A lot of question marks, but I wouldn't be surprised if same thing. If we do, when we look at our true ranks at week 4, is AJ going to be near the bottom? I highly doubt it.
Yeah, and again, we only rank the top 24. So when we say they're unranked,
Right.
these guys could be number 25 currently for us, like
Exactly.
Chris Godwin. So
Exactly.
it was really hard not ranking Chris Godwin. There was just certain guys that kept saying, I think I'd trade him for this person." But this could all easily change. And then he has a lot of upside players like Jaden Daniels, Trey Benson. I'm still not ranking Zamir White right now because I want to see him carry the load this year and see how he does. But he could really
Wow.
jump up as well. So
Oh, that's why.
well,
So
I'm not.
that's why.
I'm
That's
not.
why I'm not in
I'm
the
not.
top
Sorry.
3. Oh, you son
He's
of a gun! You
he's ranked.
son
I'm
of
not
a
ranking him
gun!
high,
You're
I should
you.
say.
It
But
was you, Fredo. I know it was you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that one is shocking because AJ is always a good. I think in our original dynasty league, he's the only one that won back-to-back championships, and he was always a contender. He knows what he's doing. There's no doubt about it. So up and coming team that I just think this is a little misleading on. Ham, however, let's just get to
So
the
let's
bottom one.
move to the
Ham,
next 2. Let's move.
can we? Can we?
Let me start this
Can we
because
just?
they're both from
Okay.
my group. They're both from my
Okay.
group. Okay,
Yeah.
so I've looked. They're both they're in the bottom 2. Of course, we got Shane Snyder, second to last, and then Ham. Ham, by far, I think of all the conferences, was the most slow to draft.
Distracted, we'll
Yeah,
call it.
he might have been drafting in the nursing home, which is where most of his players will be based on his average age. And actually, both of these last 2 guys are drafting guys that are winning now, and I appreciate that, and I hope that you guys have success. But within the next 2 to 4 years, you guys are really both going to need to make some significant changes in terms of the difference between the top and the bottom of the league. So Shane at 326 points. Okay. And then Ham at 294 points. Ham is almost 100 points lower than the top of the draft. And again,
Yeah, a sub 300 is pretty rare with our ranking.
it's pretty rare. Again, it's based on age, it's based on hype, it's based on our view of these players. We do collectively across the 3 of us, we've watched a ton of tape on all these players. We've looked at the numbers. We've in Jake's case run it through AI and
Never.
and And
but don't forget the other 52 Fantasy Pros rankers too. So it's not
right.
just the three of
Yeah,
us, right?
exactly.
I have a
But like
feeling
the
people listening say, "Well, like, oh, that this is according to you guys." Well,
this
okay,
is
and
just
52
this
other
is just Jake's
paid Fantasy
opinion.
Pros.
Yeah. No, but at the end of the day, like I actually think both of these teams have a ton of talent on their teams, on their rosters. They can compete right now. It's just I don't know that they're going to be competing for Emperor if they don't do it in the next 2 years, right?
Yeah,
So
looking at Shane's team, some of the guys that could be gone 2 years from now. Aaron Rodgers, Najee Harris. We'll see what happens. His contract's up after this year. Saquon Barkley just got paid. That's good, but he's getting older. Austin Eckler really fell off a cliff last year. Tyreek Hill certainly seems to have a few more years in him, but he did say once his contract was up, he was going to retire and I think become a professional video gamer. Although reports came out today, he's been asking for a new contract. So we'll see how that goes. Travis Kelsey, we thought he was going to retire after this last season. So a lot of these guys that are heavy hitters for Shane's team could be gone 2 years from today, and he finds himself kind of scrambling a bit. Ham, however, let's talk a little bit of a list of excuses we got from Ham. Now, one of
okay.
them was he was out to dinner with his girlfriend's parents. Now that one's legitimate. We don't want you out drafting doing that. Oh, why do we have a thumbs up here? What the heck's going on
I'm about to do the no. I'm doing the fingers.
there? Okay, thank
I'm
you.
fingering
So
this situation.
okay, fantastic. Thanks. So the dinner with the parents,
Tea,
girlfriend's parents
tea
in
time.
particular, that one's legitimate. Golfing.
I also golfed during the draft, for the record.
How do we feel about that? How do we feel about not being able to draft because you're out golfing?
Come
I think it's
on.
rude to have the phone out, but is he on a cart? Is
Come
Are we
he on
not
the
in a golf
turn?
cart every
It's
now and
4 hours per pick. It's like an hour per pick. Like,
Is
come on.
untimed. Oh, it was timed, but there was no auto draft penalty, so
You
actually
can't
you had
tell me,
infinite time.
even if he golfed 18, even if he golfed 36 holes, you can't tell me that he didn't find a spot in the woods.
we're messing with your hand, but I think was there a boat day too? I think there was a boat day too. There is something.
There's a boat day. There was,
I'm not sure.
yeah,
Well,
he had
hold on. I'm surprised that you got your draft done so quickly in
yeah,
your conference, Colin.
because actually yours,
I don't even know what happened in.
Yeah, that just goes to show how slow you guys are moving.
I think
Now
that
you know why I was nagging so much.
first of all, it sounds like Ham had a wonderful holiday weekend.
he
He
did. He
enjoyed the
did.
holiday weekend.
I'm almost positive that in my conference, people were they were obviously doing stuff, but I think that they were. I feel like it was a little bit of a silent protest
Oh,
on the old time. I think there was a little
All right,
protest happening.
your conference, the Vulcans Osborne had the pitchforks out. It's unbelievable. I've never seen so many people so surprised for something that's been planned for 6 weeks.
Well, they all knew, but I think that the penalty, the auto draft, and then it was revoked, and then it was unclear. The league, the conference, Vulcans Oathsworn.
You guys finished
Certainly,
3 days after
I
the other two conferences.
I know. All right. Overall, how we feeling about the true ranks? How we feeling about the teams, guys?
I think the one criticism with the true rank system could be that the real top dogs are really heavy loaded. So, like we
okay.
pointed out, Jamar Chase has 90 points. So if you get one of those superstars, it's weighted heavily in the ranking. I don't think that's wrong. If you get a superstar, Jamar Chase is probably worth 3 or 4 first round picks right now, right? So that is incredibly weighty. So I understand where the people that aren't happy with the ranking, I could probably understand why. Again, talking about even Ham and Shane, they have teams that or going back to Colin and Robbie's team too, they have teams that are certainly going to compete this year that are going to probably whoop our team's asses
All right.
face head to head. But again, when we're looking at this, we're looking at this from a dynasty standpoint. So um, I really like the balance of the whole league. I really do. I think despite my bickering about how slow some of the drafting was going, people are playing smart. When we selected the people that were in these leagues, I asked you guys to invite some people as well because I wanted to make sure I could have invited 36 people to this and they would have accepted, but I want to make sure we're inviting people that were going to be dedicated to playing fantasy football and enjoy doing it and take the time every now and then. They'll prioritize this when they're going number two as opposed to looking at the news or Instagram or something to make their team better. Hey, listen, that's all I ask. It's just toilet
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I'm asking for your toilet time,
We
folks.
should have told you
But
guys. We should have told you
but
guys.
we
No longer are your poops yours. They're just ours. You got to
it
be
is
on.
certainly
Got to be
it
checking
is
trades.
certainly it is certainly an experimental league that I think can be a lot of fun. And I do think we got a really good cast of characters in the three conferences here. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. And just looking at this, there's a ton of balance. And when you see somebody that's really low in one position category, they're typically high in another. So a lot of it just indicates what their strategy was. So we'll dive a lot deeper into the conferences in particular and go into kind of analyzing each person's team and really what to look for, what to be cautious of, and then also what excites us about that team. But for now, just as an overview, I love it. I think the league is really strong. We're off to a really strong start, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, no panicking. No panicking. I feel like one, and I said this to my conference today, the leagues that I've been involved with that are the most fun, the most competitive, and the most exciting, all of them are engaged on the app. They chat either through text or through chat on the app, and I think my recommendation is through the app itself, although there was some concerns about the app and notifications, but keep your eye on it, right? And trade and keep considering the idea of trading, right? And the reason, well, I think we'll make this list public, but the reason that this, I'm not panicking of not being in one of the top 3 of overall is because by design, I'm not thinking about this for today. I'm thinking about this for building a absolute dynasty, right? And so the way to do that is 1, build relationships with people in your conference. 2, understand how they think, understand what their league, what their team makeup is, understand what their picks look like, understand what your picks look like. And honestly, I don't think it has to be confrontational. It has to be aggressive, but you can negotiate based on understanding who people are in this league. But the only way that that fails is if we don't learn to understand who each other are. So my biggest thing is, please take a look at this. It's important. Look at exactly where you're at in this league, but look at your team, look at where you think you need to improve, and then start to do the work now
Yeah,
for where you want to be
just be
long term.
active. Just be
Just
active
be
where you
active.
can. I think that's all we ask, right? And I
Yeah.
think there's a reason why when I sent out the invite emails to everybody, I also attached a contact list. I think we're all willing to text with each other. You're in the group chat, so don't be shy. If you want to start talking about trades, that's really how you can get it going. So I think get outside your comfort zone a little bit and keep it going. Brandon, how do you feel about the league?
I thought it was everybody had a very clear strategy. And I think that that was something that I was really excited about. Everyone who came in was either going to prioritize quarterback and maybe not prioritize tight end, or really go for wide receivers and wait on running backs, or vice versa. It just felt like everybody was building a very intentional team. And I may not, I definitely didn't agree with some of the strategies, but I knew there was a strategy there, and I respect it. That I'm very much in the air. I'm going to build through wide receiver, tight end, and I'm going to hope and pray on quarterback and running back. But there were teams out there that were the exact opposite. And again, while I wouldn't take that strategy, I was just smiling, even though it took 7 days to do it. Everybody said, I've got a strategy and I'm going to stick to it. So I really appreciated it.
Yeah, and again, who's to say we know, right? Each one of us have won championships. We have our own strategies. Everybody has a different strategy. Each strategy can win if you have a way to do it with it. So we're just here to help wherever we can,
All
and
right.
brag an awful
And
lot.
brag. All right. So we're going to actually be breaking down the leagues themselves, I believe, Jake, in the upcoming episodes. So we're
Yep,
going to take these chat
we'll do an
GPT,
episode per conference is what we'll do.
1 episode per conference. We're going to take these chat GPT charts that Jake has been teasing everybody with. And we are going to actually, are we going to show them? I guess it'll be a video
Yeah,
pod.
yeah,
We should,
Okay.
yeah.
So
We definitely should.
we're gonna show them. We're gonna be talking about them. We will validate them with human eyes between now and the next recording. But like us, subscribe, rate us, follow us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. This has been an absolutely unhinged episode. The team names really got me, but we appreciate you
Gladiator
joining us for today. We are out.